안녕하세요, 여러분. 한국어 101이에요. Welcome back to Korea 101, your go-to Korean learning YouTube channel. I will walk you through Korean alphabet and Korean conversation for Korean beginners. Let's go! In this lesson, we will learn the 19 Korean consonants. Here's a list of them. Please check the 21 Korean vowels that I presented in the previous video. Now, our first three letters are ka, ka, and ka. The reason I have them as the same family is because they really look alike and they share a similar sound, and also their sound comes from the root of your tongue. So that means that the sound comes pretty far back in your mouth. Now let's practice the first g, ka sound. The g sound is a plain sound, but and then always remember the Korean plain sound is much lighter and it has less vibration than the English g sound. That's why it's a sound between g and k. Now the g sound looks like the number 7. Number 7 is lucky, it's good luck, so it is a g sound. Now let's practice the word Google, 게임, 개그. Not Google, but Google. Not game, but game. Not gag, 개그. Much lighter. Now let's go to the k sound. K sound is a aspirated sound. That means that when you say it, it's much lighter and you have air coming out of your mouth when you say it, as opposed to k, k, k. And k sound, when we see it, it sort of looks like a key. So it's a k sound. Let's practice the word cookie. 케이크, key. So if you practice the words in English, cookie, cookie, cake, 케이크, key, key. In Korean, as I mentioned, it is a very vowel-centric language. So English words are much more fluid, cookie. But Korean, cookie, always think about sounding them out in a syllable block. 1, 2, cookie. 케이크, 케이크, not cake. 케이크. Key, key. Now in Korean, we don't have long or short vowels. It's not key, just key, key. Now let's go to our last one. Now this one is a double consonant because we just write the g sound twice. And the plain sounds are much lighter and plain and no vibration, but the double consonant sounds are very strong. So let's practice writing and saying out the words. 카페, 꼭, 꼬마. So Cafe is cafe. In Korean, sometimes we can say cafe, but most of the time when we pronounce it, it's more like cafe, cafe. 꼭, 꼭, surely. 꼬마, 꼬마, a small child. Now, the g sound, if it sounds a little foreign to you, think about the English word sky. In English, the k sound, the k sound is k sound, but when it's followed by a consonant, it's pronounced as sky. Sky, g. It is very similar to Korean, the double consonant g sound. Sky, 카페, g, 꼭, 꼬마. Our next consonant family are 다, 타, 다. They look alike and they also share similar sounds. Now this da, ta, ta, they actually use the entire tongue body to pronounce the word, but and then they also have a little bit of that nasally sound here. Da, ta, da. Now let's practice the plain one, ta here. It's a plain sound, so it's like a basis of each family, right? And always remember, even though it has a d sound, Korean sound, plain sounds are always lighter and they do not have as much as vibration like the English d sound. Okay, now the da sound, let's practice some words. 드라마 두바이 도미노. Now the Korean this sound, ta sound, to memorize this symbol, think about a door. Door as a d sound. Now, let's practice the words again. 드라마, drama. Always remember them as a block. 드라마. So say them sort of like very distinctively, vowel based. 드라마, 두바이, Dubai, 두바이, and 도미노, 도미노. Not drama, d, much lighter. 드라마, not Dubai, 두바이, 도미노. Let's go to the t sound, 타. Ta. Ta is an aspirated sound, and if you look at this symbol t, think about a door, but it's taped. It's taped, so it has a t sound. Let's practice some words. 타투. TP. 태국. 타투, 타투, 타투. TV, TP. TP. 태국, 태국, Thailand. Now, the last one is a double consonant of two Ds. And always remember, the D, the plain sound is lighter, no vibration, or less vibration. But Korean, the double consonant sounds are the strong sounds. They are pronounced strong. Now, Let's practice. 땅, 땅. 땀띠, 땀띠. 또. Now, think about the word, the th sound. If you cannot really relate to it, think about the word star. Star. This T sound is not T sound when we pronounce it star, similar to the double D sound. The, 땅, 땀띠, 또. Now our next letters are na and the la sound. Na and la, they are both tongue body sound, but then na is much of a nasally sound. Na, so it uses the nasally, the nose part when you speak out the sound, na, whereas la sound uses the lower part of your mouth when you speak. La is not exactly a r sound, nor a l sound. It's an in-between sound, just like we learned with the g sound. In between G and K. Now, we want to make sure we fully understand how to say each consonant, but then it's so important to practice them in words because depending on the placement, the consonant can be pronounced a little differently, just like in English. And Korean language is a very vowel-centric language. So we want to make sure we practice them in vowels and in words and sentences more. Now let's see. 노트, 노트. 나, 이, 프, 나, 이, 프. 노래, note, 노트, knife, 나, 이, 프, 노래. So as you can see, very in a way rigid, and the vowel sound is much more noticeable. English language note, no, t in Korean. Now let's see the letter n. N, doesn't it look like somebody's nose? So we can think of n as nose, n sound. Now let's go to l. 라, 티, 오. 라, 인. Radio, 라, 티, 오. Line, 라, 인. 라, 인. 라, 티, 오. And if you look at the letter L, doesn't it look like a snake, a rattlesnake? So that's how we can remember the letter L. L, rattlesnake. Now let's look at our next family, ma, pa, pa, pa. And they are in the same family because they look alike. And they use the same part of your mouth when you speak these words or letters. They use your upper and lower lip when you say out these sounds. Now, let's look at the first ma and pa. They are the plain sound, and just like the plain sounds we learn in Korean language, they are much lighter and they don't use as much as vibration as the English m or the b sound. Now, the English speakers, they sometimes confuse the ma and ba Korean sound because they use the same part of your mouth when you say out these sounds. Now, let's take a look at them in examples so we can distinguish how they sound are different. Let's look at m. Now, doesn't this look like a memo? M, a memo. So it's a m sound. And that is our first word. 메모. 메시지. Not memo. 메모. Not message. 메시지. Now let's take a look at the b sound. B sound, if you look at the letter, doesn't it look like a crossover between the English B, the big B, and the small b? If you take off the top part of it, it kind of becomes the Korean B sound. Let's take a look at the example. 밥, 베프, pop, not bob, pop, lighter sound. 베프, 베프. It is a Konglish word. It's an acronym for best friend. 베프. Now let's look at our p sound. P is an aspirated sound. Pa, pa. You can feel a breath of air coming out. And pa, I'm going to have you guys remember as a pot. A pot, standing, p sound. Pa. Now let's go to the example words. 파이, 파스타, pie, 파이, pasta, 파스타, 파스타. Let's go to our last double consonant, which is a strong sound. Ba, ba. The example are 뽀, 뽀. 빼빼로, 빼빼로. So, now, if you are unfamiliar with the b sound, let's think of the word in English. Speak, speak. Notice the p sound sounds like very much like the Korean b sound. 뽀뽀, 빼빼로. Our next family is 사, 사, 자, 차, 자. They're family because they look alike and also their sound use the air coming through the teeth to pronounce the sound? Let's find out from the letter sa. Sa is a plain sound. At the same time, it's an aspirated hissing sound. And let's use them in words. S, ka, p. S, ta. Scarf, s, ka, p. Star, s, ta. Now, if you look at the s sound, it looks like a summit of the mountain. So remember that way, s, the summit. Now let's go to the double consonant, sa. Sa. Now let's practice the words. Sa-i. Sa-yo. Sigh. The singer, sigh. Sa-i. Sa-yo. To be inexpensive, sayo. Let's go to the j, cha sound. 제, 즈. 주, 스. 제, 즈, jazz. 제, 즈, juice. 주, 스. 주, 스. And then the ju sound is not as voiced as the English ju sound. The ju sound in English is much deeper and it vibrates too. Juice, jazz. But in the Korean sound, remember, the plain sound are always lighter and less vibrate. 제, 즈, 주, 스. Let's go to the ch sound. 차. Let's practice them in words. 차. 치, 즈. 차 can mean both car and tea and cheese. 치, 즈. 치, 즈. Now let's go to 즈 sound, double consonant, the strong sound. 짜, 장, 면. 짜, 장, 면. 좀. Now this is a slang word. It is 조금 is a proper way of saying it. But when we talk in Korean people's casual everyday speech, they say 좀, 좀. 좀 means 조금, which means a little bit. For consonant 자 and 차, there aren't that many images that really resemble the j and ch letter, but if I have to introduce you to one, the j, I would say that Think about somebody jumping, that they're jumping. So it's j. And for ch, think about somebody jumping, but at the same time, they're happy and they're cheering. So I would say the j is for jumping and ch is for cheering. They look very similar, so just add another dot or line up here and it makes jump to cheer. Now let's take a look at our last two consonant family, ah and ha. Now the zero and the h consonant, they resemble, but their sound also resemble an open throat when they say out loud these two sounds, ah and ha. Now, as we learn, the zero consonant has no sound, so it looks like a zero. Now let's find out and how to use this zero sound in our words. Remember we learned in our previous video the word ng. Now the first zero sound, because it comes first, it doesn't have any sound. But and then, let's look at this zero sound here in the bottom, because it comes after a vowel, vowel. It now has a sound of ng sound. And this word, we say it as ng, like an ng sound, ng. And it means, yeah. Now then, let's look at a different example. Can you read this with me? A, E, U. A, E, U. Now, can you tell me, does any of these zero sound make any sound here? This one did. How about these zero sounds? None of them does. Why? Because they are the first consonant of each syllable block. So you just say the vowel sound here. It doesn't have any sound. A, E, U. I-U. The singer, I-U. Now let's go to our ha sound. Ha sound. Now what does the ha sound resemble of? The zero, and you put a hat on it. You put a hat on it, and becomes the h sound, ha sound. Hi, ha, e, ha, e, hi, hi. And let's practice. This last word. How would you read this word? Now it has a h sound. Kind of looks similar to this one, right? Has an u sound. And what about this zero sound? Shall we read it? Yes, hopefully you got it right. We will say hing. Hing. Because the zero sound here in the bottom is pronounced as a ng sound. Hing. Now let's review all the Hangul letters. The first 10 basic vowels. The vertical vowels first. A, ya, o, yo, e. Horizontal. O, yo, u, u, 11 double vowels. E, ye, wa, wo, we, we. Now the 19 consonants that we learned today. First, the plain consonants. Ka, na, ta, ra, ma, pa, sa. Now the families. A, ja, ta, ka, ta, pa, ha. Double consonants. Ka, ta, pa, sa, ja. There are no capitalization rule in Hangul. So once you can identify all these 40 Korean letters, you can start read and write most Korean words. Thank you for watching Korea 101 video. I hope you found this lesson helpful, and I will guide you step by step through your Korean learning journey. In the next video, we will learn the location vocabularies in Korean. Remember to subscribe, like, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss a Korea 101 video. 감사합니다, 여러분. 안녕히 계세요. 사랑합니다.